We're taking a trip to Memphis, Tennessee tonight to Old Dominick Distillery, and Alex Castle's joining us. She is the first female head distiller in the history of Tennessee. How's it going, Alex?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, it's great to have you joining us. Of course, I'm a big fan of your distiller, which I've been lucky enough to see in person there in Memphis, Tennessee. And you have some new whiskeys. You have a lot of great things happening. We had you on a few months ago. What's been happening at Old Dominick in Memphis?
All right. Considering we've been shut down, we've actually been surprisingly busy. So we've actually this summer launched a single barrel program as well as 2 different whiskeys. We released a wheat whiskey as well as a blend of straight whiskeys.
That's amazing, and we're going to taste those in just a moment. But first, I want to say I'm starting my evening off with a Memphis Toddy. This Memphis Toddy has a little history to it. I feel like it's autumnal. I feel like I'm kind of already in that spirit of Thanksgiving, maybe feeling like I'm in autumn. What's in this? This is so good.
So the base of that is a bourbon that's between 4 and 6 years old, and we steep it with a ton of different spices and botanicals. So cinnamon, clove, black pepper, cardamom, some citrus peel. And the original product actually dates back to before Prohibition. We actually have a bottle from before Prohibition that was still wax sealed, and we decided to crack it open and have it analyzed. And we took that analysis and reverse engineered it to create the product that we have today.
How do they analyze something like that? How does that happen?
I think they used gas chromatography as well as a couple other super scientific instruments.
Now, wait a minute. I kind of know what that is, but explain what that is. That's a big, that sounds really cool.
So basically they're able to pick up on chemical compounds within liquids, and those compounds create different peaks, and where the peak occurs tells them what the compound is. So they were able to use those analyses to determine the ingredients.
Wow. So again, there was a bottle of this that they used to bottle back in around what year?
It was before Prohibition.
So sometime early 1900s that had, it was like this toddy in a bottle, because people would actually sell. We think of this whole pre-bottled cocktail as sort of a new thing, but people used to do this in a bottle pre-Prohibition. Apparently. Yeah. So we've seen a comeback of a lot of things, including pre-Prohibition cocktails. And the whole idea of pre-bottled cocktails was active back then. So as you all scientifically looked at this, you found, give us an idea, what kind of ingredients am I tasting in here? You said cardamom?
Yeah, so we definitely detected cinnamon and clove. There were big components, as well as the cardamom and black pepper, various fruits. So our company started as a fruit distributor. And so there is no written recipe for the toddy from that time period. And we always kind of joke lovingly that they would actually just use any fruit that was about to go bad and put in the toddy. We have no clue if that's actually true. We just think it's funny to say it. But we definitely know that they used fresh fruit in it, because the bottle we had, the liquid was solid black. So any ingredients that were in there had definitely turned over the years.
And again, it's called gas chromatography. Is that what you called it?
That was one of the methods. It's called GC, gas chromatography. I think there were other things that they used.
You're very scientific, and I'm just wondering, because Memphis barbecue is so popular, have you ever taken some of your favorite barbecue sauce from Memphis and used this too?
If I actually owned a GC machine, I absolutely would. That would be amazing.
So now everybody knows they can come find you, and if they really want to, I bet it's a pretty scientific and lengthy process, though. I mean, you probably wouldn't just do it for barbecue sauce, but you could. This could work, right?
I think you could. Yeah.
We might become barbecue spies. Watch out, Memphis. Alex and I are going to come around, get a sample. We're going to recreate it. We may get in trouble for this. They may come and find us. So this is delicious. I love what you've done. I love the fact that I am really, because you think about flavors, and we hear about stories about distilleries that are from back in the day coming back, but this is literally not only a distillery that you all brought back, but a flavor you've brought back. Talk about that some.
So this family started a company, the Canale family, back in 1866, and our founder Domenico decided to start a whiskey line in 1866 as well. Prohibition killed all of that, and the family business continued on. It never stopped, and they held on to all of this memorabilia. And in 2013, our current president was kind of looking at how to get back to Memphis with his business, and came across these bottles of Old Dominick whiskey and the Toddy, and someone suggested he actually sell the brand, and he said, no, let's bring it back ourselves. Let's keep it in the family. Right. And so it's been a labor of love and passion, and it's been a long, I guess for them, 7 years, and for me 5. Wow. But it's been an absolute blast to bring back not just the Toddy, but just so many other products under this family.
Tell us about some of the other products you brought back and how you've kept that heritage. And again, it's an amazingly gorgeous distillery. If you go through Memphis, you got to check this place out. But talk about maybe a little bit more about some of the other products that you brought back.
So we decided to branch out a little bit from Domenico's original vision. He was strictly whiskey and the Toddy, and we decided to start with vodka. So just throw caution to the wind in that one. So we use our Tennessee whiskey mash bill to make our Memphis vodka. And we also have the Honeybell citrus flavored vodka. And the Honeybell is just a very southern fruit, grows in southern Florida. And we just wanted that unique southern ingredient. And so we happened upon that and decided to go with it for our vodka. And of course, we have the Memphis Toddy. And then earlier this year, about 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, we launched our gin.
Beautiful gin.
Thank you. That was a long product. It was a long time in the making for that product, and I absolutely love it. We call it our Southern gin, and it's largely just because the flavors are very earthy. They remind us of the South. So that's our newest product outside of our whiskey lineup, which we have the Huling Station Bourbon, and now the wheat and the blend of whiskeys that go with it.
Excellent. Well, we'll crack into those here in just a moment. Someone watching, Kevin Sullivan, says he's well-versed in glass chromatography. Do you know Kevin?
The name actually sounds really familiar.
Kevin, do tell. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to taste history, and part of what you all are doing is not only just reviving a brand, but also the history, the recipes, but also infusing Southern culture into this, like the Honeybell. I mean, this is really a true opportunity for. I think when I see distilleries doing this, they're really bringing that local spirit into the spirit.
We are trying to represent the South, but more specifically, Memphis.
Right.
The Canale family has deep, deep roots in Memphis, and we want to honor that and represent it and just shout it to the world that Memphis is absolutely fantastic.
Yes. Great city, and such a special distillery you all have. As far as the whiskeys go, is there a particular order where you would like to taste them with me in? Which ones do you want to do first?
So I typically suggest the wheat first.
Okay.
Wheat whiskeys tend to be a little lighter,
right?
A little less in your face, and it also is the lowest proof of the three.
Okay, we'll go for the straight wheat whiskey first. And again, this Huling Station. What is the Huling Station? Where did that name come from?
So the distillery currently is located at 305 South Front Street, and if you go block and a half, 2 blocks down the street, you will find a cross street called Huling Station. And at that corner is a building that used to house the bottling facility for Old Dominick whiskey. And that building was historically called Huling Station. And so to honor that heritage, honor where we came from, we wanted to name our first bourbons, our first whiskeys after that.
Right. Very nice. So that's what the Huling Station.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a wheat whiskey with very high wheat. It's 83% wheat, 12% corn, 5% malted barley.
Yep. And we bottle it at 90 proof.
Bottle at 90 proof. So wheat whiskeys in general, I'm seeing, and I think obviously I love what's happened with the increase of rye whiskeys we've seen, bourbons. I think wheat's one of those things we're seeing more and more of. What are your thoughts?
It definitely is a category that's been neglected for years for whatever reason. I have no clue why. And you didn't see a whole lot in that category. I don't know if there wasn't a demand for it or if there just wasn't interest in the distillers to make it. But it's a fun category. It's so very different from bourbon. And to me, I see it as an introductory whiskey. Bourbon can be a little intense. It can be a little in your face and scare people off. Whereas to me, a wheat whiskey is so much lighter, does typically get bottled at a lower proof. Right. That if you're not super comfortable with whiskeys, this is a nice intro for you. Yeah,
great softness. The sugars and the softness are just they're very approachable. This one has some, a little bit more power than some wheat whiskeys I've had. This starts off soft and has some nice, elegant sugars, but the power towards the middle with the barrel is it hits some nice spikes. What do you like about this?
I do love, for me, I get a lot of like green grass and hay notes, which to me is a positive. Not everyone likes that. I like the sweetness that you get with it. It is just super subtle.
Right.
But then when you do sip it, there is a little bit more body to it than I think the nose hints at. But not so much that you end up choking on it or, it's not that intense.
It has a great approachability and sessionability as well. Any particular, this is obviously beautiful by itself, really well done with this Huling Station wheat whiskey. Any particular cocktails that you think go well with wheat whiskey, or do you mainly just do it by itself? Or
I really, so far, because I haven't had it out for too terribly long, so far I've just been drinking it straight. But my go-to cocktails are usually like old fashions and Manhattans, and I do question if it's really strong enough to hold up to those cocktails. But I definitely would give it a shot.
Yeah, I think it could work. This one with a little bit more proof than some wheat whiskeys is very very nice. Softer cocktails. I haven't really thought about that. I think that's something we should contemplate. Or cocktails that can be done with wheat whiskeys, maybe sidecars, something a little bit lighter. But something that but there's such the flavors are delicate, and I think that really the best way to enjoy it probably is just by itself or on the rocks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start playing around with cocktails with it now.
I've given you some homework, haven't I? What can we find as far as straight wheat whiskeys? Now this is great, and again, rise of wheat whiskeys. We saw rise really get more and more popular. We've seen more and more distilleries releasing wheat. It could just become one of the next American whiskeys that gets a lot of attention.
And I think that's the case. I really do. I think it's only starting out at this point.
And a very high wheat recipe. Some wheat whiskeys I've seen more 60, 70. This one being really on the high end. Does that really give you? I'm guessing for you a lot more of the wheat notes you were looking for.
It does. I wanted to, because we wanted 3 different whiskeys in our portfolio: a Tennessee whiskey, a bourbon, and a wheat. We wanted to make sure that they were all incredibly unique. And so if you towed the line of low rye content or low wheat content, I was afraid they'd all kind of end up being very, very similar. Whereas by just going all in with the wheat, you didn't have to worry about it being at all in the same category as our other 2 whiskeys.
Right. Well, you've done a really nice job with this. Some people that are Also, fans of wheat whiskey. Irene Wilkins says she prefers wheat whiskeys over rye. I like. I think a lot of it's for me occasion based. The occasion I might want a wheat whiskey for. I think it's also just a great for a tasting lineup. As you said, start with a wheat whiskey because everything else should probably get a little more intense, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I always told wheat whiskey for some people just feels like a summer alternative, whereas the heavy ryes tend to fall more fall and winter. So you can also have seasonal whiskeys. Yes.
So this is the new straight wheat whiskey. We're going to taste a couple more of the Huling Stations. These are available in Kentucky and all over, right? Where all can people get these?
So we're throughout the state of Tennessee. We're in Georgia, Greenville, South Carolina, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky. We are in the liquor barns in Kentucky. And then also we're actually in a couple places in Texas. And then you can also find us on a couple of online retailers as well. All of those are on our website, but it's, Steel Bach and Mash and Grape and a couple of the other well-known online retailers.
So be looking out for the straight wheat whiskey. We're going to get on to tasting a couple other whiskeys here in just a moment. But I want to tell you first about, we've launched this the last couple of days. If you go to the website, BourbonBlog.com and the /@home, that'll take you to a whole list of private whiskey tastings that are ticketed tastings. You buy the ticket. We also have a company called ShotsBox, which can send you samples of whiskey. And take a look at that. If you're enjoying what you're seeing now, we really get deeply into it, and we have you with whiskey in your hands as you're watching too, as the viewers, and you participate. We talk about it, ask questions. So bookmark that, check that out. I'm so excited to feel like I'm back on the road and hosting tastings. Usually I'm in great restaurants and bars. The last time I saw Alex, I was hosting a whiskey tasting down the street in Memphis. Then I went down the street and saw you at your distillery. So I feel like I'm kind of back on the road now. Hopefully the road will all come this way and they'll all sit around and drink some whiskey with me, Alex. That's what I'm hoping for. What's it been like for you? Because you guys were closed for a little while. What's it been like as you all have opened back up and done?
Well, we had to close. We had to close back down actually. So the county allowed us to open up a little bit. So we did some curated tastings with our bar manager and had some great cocktails in those experiences. And then we backslid a little bit and had to close down what we call limited service restaurants. And they included breweries and distilleries in that. So we've actually been closed down for about 2 months now.
Is that just the public or altogether?
To the public. So we're able to continue making products. So we're still producing whiskey. We're still bottling everything. But we've had to just cut off all public facing operations.
Right. Well, hopefully it will get better there in, is that just Memphis or all of Tennessee?
That is Shelby County. So Memphis.
Okay. Yeah, it's so interesting, and we hope the best for everybody, no matter where you are. But just to keep track of all the states, no matter where it is, to see where people are at, it's really kind of tough. I don't even know if there's one place I've been able to log on and figure out restaurants, bars, breweries, distilleries. It's tough to keep track. So hopefully it'll be better there for the great people of Tennessee, because you have so many wonderful distilleries and restaurants, breweries, and you just produce so much great spirit for the world. So we hope the best for our friends in Tennessee. And if you have any questions at all, ask them down below, and our friends there at Old Dominick Distillery. And thanks for the people that are on the Facebook. I appreciate them. It always helps when we're doing these for them to tell me, because I really like that. Check out our website to find products near you. So go to this website. That way you can find the products. It's olddominick.com/shop. That way, if you're looking for these wonderful products we're talking about, you can find them olddominick.com/shop. And certainly, Old Dominick Facebook friends, if there's other things you made to pop up there, let me know. Always happy to pop those up. Okay, so we did the wheat whiskey. Where should we go to from there?
So I typically suggest the straight bourbon whiskey, and then finish with the blend afterwards.
We'll go to the straight bourbon whiskey, which is, what's the mash bill on this one?
So that is 52% corn and 44% rye and 4% malted barley. And we do bottle that at 100 proof.
Wow. So this one is, right. You wanted something with a little bit more proof as a bourbon, right?
Yep. Yep. And this has been out since, I believe I think it's 2 years now. Really losing track of time. But yeah, I think it's been 2 years that this has been out. And we wanted that high rye mash bill, just something unique. I'm a big rye whiskey fan. And so this kind of was a way to get the best of both worlds, bourbon and rye whiskey.
Very nice. So this is the straight bourbon whiskey. And the age on this approximately is about what?
This particular batch is 6 years old.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow.
And the same with the wheat. The wheat currently 6 years old as well.
Wow, that has some really, that has some of those just really great, like sugar against good char barrel flavors that shows a nice age. It actually tastes a little bit older to me. It tastes like it could be a little older than 6. This has some real power to it. This is nice.
Thank you. Yeah, we do a number 4 char. So we do the alligator char. It's just, for me as a distiller, it's my favorite char to go with. I love the dark sugar notes and caramel, everything that comes with that char.
Yeah, this has some great body, some great depth. Been out for 2 years. It pretty much a lot of those same places you can find it that you mentioned on the wheat whiskey.
Yep. So the wheat whiskey is actually a limited offering. So it's not necessarily going to be available in all of our markets, whereas the straight bourbon whiskey is a permanent line extension. It's available everywhere.
Going to be finding it. This is great. And how does this, when you look for a good bourbon, because, even you and I, years ago, we judged, I know a whiskey or a spirit competition there together in Breckenridge, and things that you look for in a good bourbon. How does this represent, what you were hoping to, really communicate with what you love about bourbon?
For me, I've always been drawn to those sweet notes in bourbon. I love the caramels. I love the toffees, but I also like the darker notes. So like the dark cherries and the dark chocolate. And for me, the rye mash bill, the number 4 char, all of that is able to provide all of my favorite notes in one single bottle. Yeah,
it really there's the chocolate, the cherries, the great. It's a long finish too. A lot of sugars and barrel in that finish. Really nice finish. Flair Ordy says, "Hello, I love your brand." So you have some people that are watching that really enjoy what you do. Good bourbon. They're fans of bourbon. They're waving hello to us. We appreciate all the people. Tell us down below if you've tried some of the bourbons, whiskeys. Tell us what your favorite Old Dominick product is below. And this is very nice. So again, 100 proof. The first one was 90 proof, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Very nice. Straight bourbon whiskey. Now, any favorite like Memphis cocktails you've made with this one, or any
For me, when it comes to bourbon, I'm just so old school, so classic. I do the old fashions. I do the Manhattans. Yeah. That's really what I do. We do have a bar in town that makes an old fashioned using cola syrup. And
really?
I will admit that's one of my favorite old fashions.
Then so they make their own like simple syrup out of cola? Is that what they do?
I think so. I haven't asked them to divulge their secrets or anything, but they do. Their household fashion uses a cola syrup, and it's almost like a cherry Coke, but for adults. Nice.
Which bar is it?
It is Bell Tavern.
Bell Tavern. Very nice. Cola. That sounds really good. There's some nice things that can be done with those cola flavors. That sounds really good.
Nice. Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise.
This is the straight bourbon whiskey, the Huling Station.
Yeah, they'll use
just a little touch of it.
Bourbon.
Right? Mm-hmm. Very nice. But this is the one they should use, right?
This is what they should use. Absolutely.
This is what they should use. Doing it local. Now, as we look at Tennessee in general, I mean, how many? I know the Tennessee Whiskey Trail, like It's been it's been there for several years, but how many total distilleries are on this now?
So on the trail, we are in the 20s. So our Distillers Guild have just over 30 members, and then the trail is sitting at, I think, 26 or 27 distilleries right now.
Wow. What's that been like for you? I mean, obviously it's different right now with COVID, but pre-COVID, with that trail, has that just brought more and more people your way, or how's that work?
I'd like to say yes, but we are the lone trail member on the West region.
Right.
So we're a little weird, we're a little unusual. But we absolutely have had people come in who say we're just kicking off at the trail, or we're finishing the trail and you guys are the last stop. So we absolutely have those people. So we do know that people are coming to us because of the trail.
Because of the trail. That's great. That's cool. It's great to see, how many wonderful distilleries there are in Tennessee, and just how much it helps tourism, and just how much it just gets people excited. No matter where you go throughout the country, now you can find a distillery close to you, and that's very, that's very exciting, because it hasn't always been like that. And a distillery like yours that showcases local flavors, that has history, that showcases the South. It sounds like someone is sipping on some of your single barrel right now. Kay Luke is sipping on some of the single barrel right now. Great stuff.
That may or may not be my dad.
You know who this Kay Luke is? Okay, I was about to say. I think, by the way, you're smiling. You might know. Okay, well, that's good. It's good. My parents watch my show too, so it's good that we can all be supported. And our parents. Cheers to the parents. Absolutely. Very cool. Kay Luke, glad you're enjoying that single barrel. Tell us about that single barrel program. If someone's watching that's from a restaurant, a bar, or just wants to jump on that, how do they pick up their own barrel?
The easiest way right now, because we are so limited in it, is if you're in a market that we already serve, to get with your local distributor and just see if you can get on the list for it. Because we've done plenty of retailers, but we also, this current round that we're doing, we are actually including a couple of different whiskey societies and other groups, a little bit out of the norm. So just talk to your distributors. That's
cool. Talk to your distributors. What's that process like? You can come to, well, at some point you can come into the distillery and choose, or you can send to them. How does that work?
So ideally, we want to be able to welcome everybody to the distillery to do their barrel pick. And I always do that with them. And it's a great time. We can't really do that right now because we're close to the public. So right now, the way we're doing it is we do have little tasting kits, and our sales reps are just going to each of the accounts and doing the tastings with them. I'm actually doing a virtual barrel selection with a group next week or the week after. So we're figuring out ways to make it a little more normal, I guess. But yeah, hopefully we can welcome people back to the distillery at some point.
To do it right there. Yeah, no, that's understandable. So reach out to your local distributor there if you have some interest in one of these. And again, the single barrel is just the bourbon, is that right?
Right now, it's just the bourbon. Yep.
Tell me about some of these single barrels. I mean, obviously some just really lovely flavors on the original straight bourbon whiskey, but for your single barrels, what do you like about what these showcase?
I try to make sure I get a nice variety when I evaluate a barrel and say if it's single barrel or not. To where I've had some that are really just dark stone fruit, and that's really where their heaviness is. I've had some that were actually very floral. And then some that are just like caramel, toffee, vanilla. I don't want to say bombs because they're not quite that intense, but I really do try to make sure I want to drink it, but also try to come up with barrels that will hit kind of different categories so they appeal to different people.
It's quite a variation of flavors. I love how that can be expressed on single barrels. So well done with that, and we'll look forward to seeing more single barrels out there. To also add to the collection of the Huling Station Whiskies, from Old Dominick. You have done a blend of some unique whiskeys.
We do. So we have our blend of straight whiskeys. Like the wheat, it is a limited offering, at least for now. And so what this product is, it's actually a 50-50 blend of our straight wheat whiskey and our high rye bourbon, our straight bourbon whiskey.
Oh. Just to give you that 50-50 split of the best of both worlds.
Basically, yeah. And we do bottle this at 100 proof as well. And this product honestly came about because I would have samples pulled from the wheat barrels and the bourbon barrels like every quarter. And I'd evaluate them and I'd get to the end and still have liquid in both of my glasses. And I didn't really have time to stand in the lab and finish them. So I just dump one into the other and walk away and just sip on it the rest of the day. And I really enjoyed the combination of flavors. And so managed to convince my owners that it was a smart idea, and they listened to me. So,
and just that 50-50, I mean, so a lot of times when you're looking at blends, you experiment with 60-40 or just, but how were you?
And we did.
50-50?
We experimented.
Well,
so we experimented. Yeah, because when I was pouring one glass to the other, it was not scientific at all. I have no clue what the ratios were, but to develop it, we did try 60-40, 40-60, 50-50, and ultimately the 50-50 at 100 proof just yielded it really showcased the wheat, didn't let the bourbon overpower it, but yet you still get that rye content, and it hit the sweet spot.
Which also seems to mean that, I mean, it is very well balanced, but with that 50-50 blend, it also seems to me to communicate that those two on their own are just very well balanced and bold and just great as they are, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If one of them was not very well balanced, you wouldn't be able to do a 50-50 blend and actually pick up on it.
Right. This is really good. So this is, again, the blend of the high rye bourbon, the wheat whiskey, and this is a limited time offering that you only made. And will you only do this annually, every so often, or only kind of a one-time thing? So
we're still fine-tuning the plans. We will do another drop next year. It's just a matter of when and kind of how much next year. But it definitely will make an appearance next year.
This one dances on the palate a lot. The way this one kind of goes in and out of the two whiskeys. I get the two whiskeys, but they're so finely blended, it just really dances and has a lot of arcs. When you blend a whiskey like this, I know that, from what I know of blending and distilleries, you really have to let them sit for a while to do their thing. How long do you have to let a whiskey sit to be blended, like when you're doing this kind of thing?
So we're not very scientific at all. We dump our barrels, and within a day or two, we actually end up blending. It
goes right in. And you like what it does. And it probably depends on the whiskey too, on what it has to do. Well, that's cool. So just together and then it's good. Great. These are all really beautiful. All three of these out now. The first one and this last one are limited time offerings. But if you, for some reason, can't find those, the straight bourbon is always going to be out there. It's incredible. What are the price points on these?
So the straight bourbon whiskey is typically in the $35 to $40 range. It just kind of depends on the market. And then the wheat and the blend typically are closer to the 40, might see it as high as 45.
All just really great whiskeys. And definitely check out the Huling Station Whiskies from Old Dominick, and all of their products. Again, you have the new gin. You just released that over the pandemic too, right? That just came out.
Yeah, gin came out for March 1st.
So there's at least 3 products that you've come out with the last 6 months. What's that been like to release new products during all this?
The whiskeys haven't been horrible. The gin was interesting because we had spent so much time developing it. I actually started developing that product back in 2017. And so to spent so much time on it and really think we had this amazing product and this amazing launch plan. And then that launch plan just got blown up completely. It was a little disheartening, but fortunately, people seem to have kind of latched onto it. The reception of it has been really surprising given the circumstances. But that was a little weird for us, definitely. And then the whiskeys, we've kind of had to pivot a little bit because, normally this stuff happens in person as we're trying to tell people about a new whiskey, and we're not able to do that now.
Right. So this is doing these types of things, doing virtual tastings, and just getting out there is the way we're continuing to spread the word to make sure people are getting a lot of great new products to try. We're all thirsty for something new. What's it been like for you doing the virtual thing? What have you, as far as getting the word out?
It's been fun. Everyone has, seemed to master, Zoom and everything. So we're kind of over the technological hurdle, I think. And people just seem to be a little more comfortable with it as well. So it actually feels a lot more natural at this point in the pandemic than it did at the start of it. I'd still absolutely prefer being in person with people, but it's proving to be pretty enjoyable this way as well.
Well, the thing you can do to find out where the Old Dominick whiskeys and products are is go to that website, olddominick.com/shop. And that will just take you to all the places that you can find these wonderful whiskeys and spirits, and also this delicious toddy. This is so cool that you've recreated from the early 1900s. Actually, recreated it from that recipe. That's just so delicious, and I already feel like we should be we'll put up the Christmas tree early and pour a little bit of the toddy. Also, if you're just joining us, as I told you,
at least tailgating. At least
tailgating. Well, tailgating for sure. Check out BourbonBlog.com/at-home if you want to be part of our ticketed tastings where we can send you some or have the whiskey sent to you. Some great tastings. Check out that link. Anything else coming up for the rest of the year or that you're looking forward to at Old Dominick as far as just other little surprises?
Right now, really no surprises. We do have a distillery release only whiskey that we've been sitting on, hoping that we could open to the public and start selling it. So we're trying to see if there's a way to release that, even if we're not open, because we can do curbside orders. So there might be that, but beyond that, at this point, we just want to be able to open up and welcome people back to our bar.
So can you tell us what the whiskey is?
So we have partnered with a bunch of different breweries in town. And so last year I gave a bunch of barrels to a brewery. They did 5 or 6 different beers in those barrels. Mm-hmm. And I took 2 of the barrels back. One of them we actually released earlier this year. It's all the Cookies Bourbon.
That was so amazing. I loved that.
The Oatmeal Raisin Cookie Bourbon. We do still have some bottles left. Well, the sister barrel of that was a beer called Devil's Water. And it was a dark ale, I believe. And that bourbon actually has a really nice, smoky, almost Scotch-like characteristic to it. So very different from all the cookies. And so we've been sitting on that, waiting to be able to open back up and sell it. So we might be looking at a holiday release for that one.
That all the cookies, I wanted to say, and you do, and so you said you can't do curbside, or you can do?
We can do curbside. It's just we don't advertise it just simply because not a whole lot of demand right now.
I have fortunately been able to have some kind of drinks at a distance in real life with some friends, and I poured some friends that are really big bourbon lovers that all the Cookies Bourbon, and they've all loved it. And it's such a special experience because it has those cinnamon cookie kind of like fresh baked pastry notes and cookies, and there's nothing I've ever had quite like this. I mean, I've had things that have been influences from breweries, but this was such a special release. It was so good.
Thank you. That one exceeded all of my expectations.
Yeah, it's just out of this world. And if you are in Memphis or you pass through it, get a bottle of that, because that's you think you may ever be able to recreate that? I mean, you may have to.
So my understanding is that brewery actually recreated that beer again this year and has it aging in barrels again. So I'm hoping to be able to take those barrels back and at least do round number 2 for all the cookies.
Yeah, it's so good. But so you're going to call this next one Devil's Water? Is that what you said?
That's because that's the name that they gave the beer.
Here.
Devil's Water. So we'll honor their beer name and call it Devil's Water Bourbon.
I bet that one will be something else. Someone asking down below, you just do curbside, you guys. Is there anybody that ships your whiskeys or spirits that's out there?
So we do have a couple of online retailers. You can absolutely go to our website. All of them are listed. But I know Seelbach out of DC has it. We've got a place out of California, New York, a couple of different places that offer it. But absolutely check out the website for specifics.
All right, so that gives some help. If you're looking for it, you need it shipped. If you're not right there near Memphis, go to that site and be looking for this next very limited release of the Devil's Water bourbon that's been finishing in those barrels. It's how long did it finish for?
So that one it was between 3 and 4 months for that one, whereas all the cookies only took 2 to 4 weeks.
It was quick because of the intensity. So it's so nice.
Yep.
Well done with all these whiskeys, with all the products you do. It's Alex Castle of Old Dominick Distillery. She is, again, the first head master distiller that's a female in the history of Tennessee. What's that feel like for you? I mean, that's a real honor and such a cool thing to be able to say.
It was awesome. I'm just happy to be in this industry, honestly. Yeah. In Tennessee, I'm from Kentucky, but Tennessee has been so welcoming. Yeah. I love it. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you're doing a great job there. You're making so many great products, and we love what you do and your team. Definitely hope everything in Shelby County for the distilleries, breweries, et cetera, gets reopened soon, Alex. And hopefully in the near future, we'll be seeing you back in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, absolutely.
And so many great fans of yours watching tonight. Thanks to all the fans. If you just joined us kind of midway through, the video will be up permanently wherever you've been watching it, and also as a podcast on that site right there if you're not already on our Bourbon podcast. If the idea of listening to us versus watching us drink makes you more happy, or if you just like podcast, subscribe to our podcast because we're happy to have you subscribing there. But it's always a pleasure, Alex, and keep up the great work. Congrats on these new Huling Station Whiskeys.
Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers, Alex. We'll see you again soon.